Okay, so we got this. Yeah, so we got. So these canais are looking better. Yeah. Now, so I'm going to go back into the perspective view. Let's just have a look at this. So this is essentially the basic walk. And if you think, and the interesting thing is, we can get him to go now, because basically all I have to do now is I can select the main control, and I'm just going to key in the first frame, and then I can go anywhere on this line, like say 12, and press another key. Now he's going to be walking in the Z, the blue. So I'm going to take just this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Z I think I was taking scale there by accident. The Z translation, and I'm going to move it forwards. Like this. Now what I'm going to do also is I'm going to take these lines, select them both, so you can see I'm selecting them both, and I'm going to go here and see this button here. This makes him linear. I want him walking at a constant speed, so I'm going to make that linear. And then I'm going to go to the curves, and post infinity, I'm not going to do cycle, I'm going to do cycle with offset, and that will just offset this curve so it repeats itself. Now what do we have so far? I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to cycle, I'm going to take all the bits I've got, select them all. So far I've cycled this, so I don't need to touch this, but I've got this control here, I've got the body, and I've got this, and I want all these to cycle. I've cycled some of them, but not all of them. So with all of them selected, I'll go curves, post infinity, cycle, curves, pre-infinity, cycle. Right? You can see the curves are being added. Now I can go to say frame 100. Let's enter that, and I can let the Monty walk. Now look, you can see that Monty is not walking at the right speed. Okay, I mean Monty looks like he's on a kind of moving travelator or something, but one that's going very slowly, or he's on a treadmill. So I need Monty to go at the right speed. Now it's very easy to get him to go at the right speed using this method. You simply select the Z translation, which I've got cycling with an offset. Remember, everything else cycled. This cycled with offset. So because this one we want going forward in the direction, the rest we just want cycling round and round. Now what I want to do is I'm going to just increase the gradient of this curve just by pulling up on this point until I feel Monty's legs aren't slipping. Now I can still see they're slipping quite a lot, so I'm going to pull it even more. He needs to be speeded up. So now let's see what's happening now. So look at this. It's actually probably easier to see in this. I can still sliding backwards, so it needs to be up higher. So I go in, and I'm just going to push this right the way up. Now let's have a look at this now. Now he's moving forwards, so pull it back a bit. Almost there, still moving forward slightly. You can see it here, so he's sliding forwards. Pull it down. Getting there, a bit further. Now look at that foot. I can go right in on that. You can see the heel's right apart against this line of the grid. Now look. Do you see that move? The foot looks like it's locked. And what that means is that this gradient here is the same but in the opposite direction as the gradient of his foot. If I can just bring it up here. Oh, for some reason I can't click on it. It's annoying. Hang on. Oh, sorry, it is selected. So what it means is this line here, this line is at the same gradient as this line, yeah, but going in the opposite direction. So if I was to lie this line here, this is the forward translation across this line here, which is his feet on the ground, it would make a kind of symmetrical X shape, and that means that the feet are locked. So if I was to just take those NURBS curves off, Monty will now walk quite happily across the ground. Okay, so that is essentially the first bit of doing a walk cycle. Now, there's some problems with this, but it's not the end of the world. It just gives you the idea. Now, I haven't done any deformations in the head, and I'll be doing those next and showing you how you can add some little finessing bits to it. Okay, let me see, where are we? Yeah, so we said we're going to go into doing I said we're going to go into doing the deformations. Now, I made a couple of changes on this. I was looking at the feet and they seem to be jittering a little bit. I just want to show you. So what I did was I went to this foot, and on the toe roll I just brought this right down. Whoops, oh, I've come out of this. I brought this right down here. I brought it right down. Just so, now, I just want to show you something. When you're making adjustments, when you have slipped, now this one's going to be fine. This one, frame 1 is on frame 1, and frame 25 is frame 25. But here, this is where you kind of potentially, I wouldn't call it difficulties, but, sometimes it can be a little bit hard. Imagine I want to make adjustments to this foot. Now this I have slipped by 13 frames, which means that I can't really, what I'm seeing here is the cycle. In frame 1, there are no frames in frame 1, yeah? So imagine I want to adjust this bit here in the, what is this, the rotate X? No, it's the translate X. No, it's, what is it, rotate X. Imagine I want to adjust the rotate X of this. I don't, but imagine I did want to. I cannot adjust it on frame 1 because there is nothing on frame 1. It is just a cycled animation. There are no frames here. I would have to go to the equivalent place. Now I can see from looking at the cycle, the equivalent place is actually on frame 28. So if I want to bring this down, even if I'm on frame 1, let's say I'm on frame 4. If I want to change this on frame 4, look, I'm having to bring it down. I'm having to alter it here. Now this is not an ideal way of working. So normally what I would do when I get the cycle working in a way that I like is I will do something for these slipped frame ones. So that is this here. I think this is the only one I've slipped frame in Monty if it's only this foot that's been slipped. So what I would have to do is I would just go and make my timeline 1 to 25 like this, 1 to 25, and then just for this foot, because this is the only one I've slipped, I would go key edit, keys, bake simulation. I would make sure it's not on smart bake and it's set to time slider, and then I would just not keep bake keys. I want that off. Now look at the timeline now. I've got it from 1, this point here, to 25. I'm going to bake this, and all of a sudden, yeah, I get a key in every frame, but I only get what I need, yeah? And now if I make adjustments on frame 1, I have a key there, yeah? And also if I select Monty as a whole, I'm just going to do that very quickly. I select Monty as a whole. You see, all of a sudden now I only have keys within this area here. There's no, the rest is just cycling animation, okay? So I got Monty. Right, well the next bit I'm going to do are the bounces up and down, okay? Now to do that we're going to use this control here. And again we're going to use a similar thing. Now Monty is essentially a ball that goes up and down. So if you imagine a ball with a lot of fun, I'm going to drop this down just so we're just looking at Monty, just the ball and nothing else. There's a ball going up and down. What's a ball going up and down going to do? Well, the reality is the deformations are going to be subtle because Monty's movement is not very extreme. So let's say on the extremes, when Monty goes up, when's Monty highest in the air? He's highest in the air on frame 10. So in frame 10, let's say you're going to get a bit of compression on Monty. It's like the air is pushing down from above as he shoots up, so we get a bit of compression. So I'm going to start at 10, a bit of compression on frame 10. And as Monty drops down, where's Monty's lowest point? We know Monty's lowest point is frame 16. So as he drops down to 16, say 15, 16. Maybe he's going to stretch out a little bit, maybe just a little. We can always, I can always dial this back. And 16, he's at its lowest point. So maybe just after 16, 17, 18, he's going to squash back again. So we're going to have this whoop as he drops and then squashes. And then as Monty pulls back up again, initially after the squash, we might get a little bit of pull again. Yeah. And then as Monty gets to his highest point, which is frame 22, he's going to be flattening out, yeah? So we've got that, from that, top, drops down, squashes, up, flattens out. Frame 25 is going to be the same as this one here. Sorry, frame 13. So what's 13? If I make a point in frame 13, I can copy it. Copy, because remember these frames, 25. And this frame, number 1, will be the same. Well, number 1, we haven't done the animation in the middle yet. The funny thing is, we could potentially just cycle this, because this half of the cycle will be exactly the same as what's come before it. So I could, this is a bit of a cheat, get rid of these frames. This one, frame 13 and frame 25 are the same. I can go curves, pre-infinity cycle, and we should, is this gonna work? So we've got a bit of a, Monty looks like a wobbling, it's a little bit too much. Maybe that's a little bit too much, Monty bobbing up and down. It's like he's got this big fat jelly thing going on. So maybe I'll just drop this down a bit so I can just highlight these curves. And I'm just gonna take this, go to the midpoint and shift middle mouse button drag just to get this a little bit less. So it goes up and down. Okay, so let's see this. So you got this little kind of bounce as whatever is inside Monty bobs around. Okay. Now there are other things you can do. Normally, because this we're moving on to finessing now, finessing the animation.